Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2025 Report to the Community presented by WestJet and TELUS Business. My name is Jerry Anderson. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs at Calgary Economic Development, and I'll be one of your hosts today.
And I'm Chris Brown, Vice President of Business Development at Calgary Economic Development, and I'll be your other host for today's program. It's exciting to see this room filled with so many people who believe in Calgary's future. Today is about exploring how innovators in our city are driving economic diversification and creating opportunities that push the limits of what's possible. Before we begin, we'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge that there have been Indigenous economies and economic development in Treaty 7 regions since time immemorial. The Blue Sky City inspires, connects, and calls for a deeper understanding of our past and our future. As we come together to share a new collective story of Calgary, we pay respect to the people of Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, who are original creators in our community. We acknowledge that we gather in the home of the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani nations, the Ithka Nakota, comprising the Bearspaw, Chiniki, and Goodstoney nations, and the Tsuut'ina Nation. Calgary is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and to the Otimisawa Métis government, Nose Hill Métis District 5, and Elbow Métis District 6. We acknowledge all Indigenous people who have made Calgary their home, and it is with this recognition that we do our work to build a prosperous city for all Calgarians.
So Doreen Burgum, who is an elder and knowledge keeper, was going to be here with us today to start us off in a good way. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it, but she did send us a video. So we would ask that you all stand and follow along. Thank you.
Boudreaux Dumont. Nemama Mary Bishan. Métis Femelle Dufresne Venice. My grandfather Dan Venice was born in Calgary, July 19th, 1885. My great-grandparents, Baptiste and Catherine Venice, homesteaded on Section 15, where the saddle sits today. And I believe it was the first lot in becoming the city of Calgary. I'm going to share my 4 directions prayer with you today, so I'll ask that you get your phones out and find your compass, and we're going to start facing the east direction. God, our Creator, we thank you for giving us this day to spend time together. Today, we stand tall with gratitude and great pride in the spirit and footsteps of our ancestors. We'll face the east direction. God, our Creator, we first acknowledge the east direction, the direction of the sunrise and new beginnings. The east is the direction of the child. So we pray for the youth of the world. Help our youth find the balance between past and present, in tradition and spirit. We pray for all the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit children found in the cemeteries at residential schools. We acknowledge the white race that it represents. Now we'll turn to the south. God, our Creator, we now acknowledge the south direction, the direction of summer warmth and abundance. South is the direction of the women, and we honor them as the gateways through which our spirits come to earth. We ask that women everywhere be protected, for they are sacred. We acknowledge the color yellow and the yellow race that it represents. We'll turn to the west. God our Creator. We next turn to the west direction, the direction of the setting sun and the autumn season. West is the direction of the elders, and we honor our elders as the keepers of wisdom and teachers of patience. West is also the direction of our ancestors, and we proudly acknowledge those who have gone before us. We acknowledge the color red and the red race it represents. We now turn to the north, God our Creator. We now turn to the north, the direction of the winter that covers the earth. North is the men's direction, and we honor men as the providers and protectors of the family and the nation. We acknowledge the color black and the black race it represents. God our Creator, we ask our Creator to be with us today, and also pray for peace among the four races of humankind. Merci and de Twananan.
Our thanks to Elder Doreen for starting us off in a good way. Now let's talk about why we're here today. Report to Community is where we look at where we've been and report to you, our community. In addition, this year we're going to hear from people, from leaders in our city, from entrepreneurs and change makers who are driving change and helping to make Calgary the innovation capital of our country. Because Calgary's story has always been one of transformation. Innovation is in our DNA. From energy to aerospace, AI to agribusiness, our city is redefining industries, attracting skilled talent, and creating new opportunities. It's going to be an action-packed afternoon, so let's get started. Now, it's my honor to welcome our first speaker, someone who champions innovative solutions to improve the lives of Calgarians and grow our economy every single day. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Jyoti Gondek to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Elder Doreen. It's too bad she wasn't able to join us, but I'm so glad she was able to start us in a good way. So let me offer you greetings in the mother languages of the Treaty 7 Indigenous peoples. Oki, Dadanistara, Ambawastich, and Tansei to all of you. It's an honor to be here today with so many of Calgary's business leaders, innovators, and change makers. You really are the folks who drive this city's economy, and your contributions are what make this city more than just a place where we live. You help to make this a community where we all can thrive. And let me start by thanking Brad Perry and the incredible Calgary Economic Development team. I'm looking forward to listening and learning today as we talk about how Calgary is not just facing the future, but shaping it through intentional acts of innovation, diversification, and strategic partnerships. We're now closing on the end of my first term as mayor, and it's fair to say that the pace has not slowed. These last few years have tested all of us with global economic shocks, with housing pressures, and with political polarization. And Calgary has responded not with hesitation, but with firm action. Together, we have tackled several challenges that I would call generational in their scope. And because we were able to be nimble, responsive, and we seized opportunities, I believe Calgary is entering its most exciting chapter yet. You see, we've spent the last 2 decades in our nation as complacent observers to the global economy that has risen up around us. We watched while other nations took on more production, more manufacturing, and more exporting of key goods and materials, and we became heavily reliant on these things. During the pandemic, we saw disruption of supply chains, and we saw shortages of key goods and materials, and that was absolutely our wake-up call. We learned that we had to strengthen our ability to be self-sufficient, to bring back the productivity that our nation has always been known for. And to do that, we had to be innovative across and within industry sectors. So together with the team at Calgary Economic Development, the City of Calgary became intentional on our focus towards diversifying the economy. In 2018, we created the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, which is a $100 million incentive program designed to fund innovators who could help solve some of our most wicked problems. In 2021, we launched and invested in a downtown revitalization strategy designed to create more opportunities for people to gather, live, and work in our core. We made this investment because we knew that talent attraction requires creating beautiful spaces where innovators can thrive both on and off the job. And our efforts have paid off. Calgary tops all North American cities with the fastest growth rate for tech sector jobs, 78% growth in the last 5 years. We also have more than 2,000 new homes being built downtown, and Calgary is the location for the most ambitious and exciting modernization project in the country, involving both Arts Commons and Olympic Plaza transformations. We are also positioned at the forefront of creating Canada's strongest inland port, one that will dramatically change how we move goods, as well as increase the manufacturing sector and tax base for the region, and how we improve supply chains. We have just signed an early-stage memorandum of understanding with the Canada Infrastructure Bank as a crucial step in advancing a project called Prairie Economic Gateway, which is an industrial hub that covers 2,000 acres along Calgary's southeast border, which will translate to job creation in multiple sectors. This work stands to unlock billions in trade, attract global investment, and build modern infrastructure that connects our producers to the world. We're talking about more than $7 billion in economic activity, as well as 30,000 jobs. With Prairie Economic Gateway, we're moving from vision to implementation, and it's all rooted in innovation. This project is city building at its most strategic, and it's poised as an industrial hub to set revolutionary new logistics, manufacturing, and supply chain systems. My vision is to expand the build-out of Prairie Economic Gateway from a strong core of production and goods movement sites to a hub for the infrastructure that we need to support advanced technology, including data centers, AI, and quantum. This integrated approach is a game-changing concept. Advanced technology facilities like data centers are crucial for the processing and storage of large volumes of digital information. They benefit from the Prairie Economic Gateway's logistical advantages, ensuring that both physical goods and data can move efficiently. My vision also includes capturing the waste heat that data centers generate to power the district, creating the type of circular economy that invites innovators and investors alike. By fostering a cluster of data centers, Prairie Economic Gateway can expand beyond its core function of being a logistics and manufacturing hub, and it can also become a central anchor in Canada's tech infrastructure, positioning Calgary as a key player in the digital economy. We also retain our standing as a global energy powerhouse by fueling the technology that is critical for energy transition advancements, a place where we are already leading. We are demonstrating the innovative spirit of Calgary to the world and reassuring them that Canada is their #1 choice for a safe, certain, and affordable energy supply. And this is what good governance looks like. This is what it looks like when your government is being as innovative as all of the sectors within business. You identify your strengths, you anticipate change, and you get ahead of it. Calgary is no longer waiting for the future to come to us. We are designing the future that we want. And Calgary is not just growing, we are becoming. We're becoming a city of purpose, of imagination, and a city of impact. And while others may still debate whether cities matter, I know that cities are the engines of the economy. Cities are where innovation takes place. I want to thank all of you for believing in our blue sky city. I want to thank you for the work you do every day, and I want to thank you for being the kind of leaders who don't just dream of big things. Thank you for being the kind of leaders who do the hard work of making big things happen for all of our benefit. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mayor Gondek. Despite the challenges ahead of us, we have so much to be hopeful about. And we thank you and we thank City Council for your vision and leadership in these uncertain times.
Now, let's take a moment to hear from the incredible organizations that help make this event possible. Our first leader to take the stage is John Wetherill, Executive VP and Chief Commercial Officer at WestJet, our long-standing presenting sponsor of Report to the Community. WestJet is one of Calgary's great success stories, a company that drives innovation here at home and connects our city to the world. We often hear from clients considering Calgary that our global connectivity is a significant advantage for our city. Welcome, John.
Think of all the stories that have started right here. Honeymoons, long overdue honeymoons. Seeing the baby. Ooh, Vegas baby. The people named Doug.
I'm Doug.
Making that seismic shift from work mom to vacation mom. Whatever brought you here, whether you're starting your adventure or coming back from one, we know the flight isn't the whole story. It's where your story takes off.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is really a pleasure to be here today with all of you and to talk a little bit about what we're doing with our network at WestJet and how we're working with some of our partners and some pretty exciting initiatives over the course of the next little while. I'll start with something you may not know, but today Calgary is the best connected mid-sized city in North America. Mid-sized city, we say cities with a population of less than 2 million inhabitants. So what does that mean to be the best connected? It's something we're very proud of. It means that WestJet flies to more than 90 nonstop destinations out of our global hub at YYC, and that provides vital access to attract businesses and skilled workers. It means that WestJet operates more than 15 million seats in and out of YYC every year, and that's a pretty impressive level of air service for a city with 1.5 million inhabitants. It means new visitors and increased employment, and of course it means economic growth. And it's not just flights and seats that matter. We're proud of the role that we're helping to play in building Calgary as a world-class city. As an example, WestJet recently announced a historic 15-year multi-billion dollar contract with Lufthansa Technik for engine maintenance services. This partnership, which was made possible through a collaboration with the Government of Canada, the Province of Alberta, the City of Calgary, Calgary Economic Development, Opportunities Calgary Investment Fund, and the Calgary Airport Authority, will result in a new cutting-edge engine repair facility right here in Calgary. It will drive innovation, create jobs, strengthen our aviation ecosystem, and it's a tremendous example of what Team Calgary can accomplish together. Many of the individuals and organizations who helped to make this investment a reality are in the room today, and please help me in recognizing them with a round of applause. So all of this adds up to an important outcome, which is economic growth. Our global hub in Calgary is an economic enabler. Did you know that cities in North America that are home to an airline hub generate on average 26% higher GDP per capita than non-hub cities? 26% higher GDP per capita. So for Calgary, 26% increase in GDP represents about $30 billion annually. Indeed, there may be no more effective catalyst for economic growth than accessible and affordable air transportation, especially for a city as geographically remote as ours. But accessibility and affordability are under threat. We're navigating a complex economic environment. The ongoing US tariff dispute introduces uncertainty across all industries, and of course our industry is no exception. With changing market dynamics, Canadian travelers are adjusting their travel plans. There's reduced demand for US destinations and a shift in bookings to other places like Mexico and the Caribbean and Europe. And we're deeply committed to meeting the needs of our guests, and so we will follow the demand and adjust our network accordingly so that we can continue to connect Canadians to the people and the places they love. And that's why we work closely with our partners to advocate on behalf of our guests for policies that help keep air travel affordable. And yet the affordability of air travel in Canada is under constant and growing pressure from government fees and taxes. Since WestJet entered the market in 1996, almost 30 years ago, we've driven down the average base fare on domestic tickets by almost 50%. You probably didn't know that, but when you buy a ticket today, the base fare that you pay, adjusted for inflation, is about half of what it was 30 years ago. And there's very few industries that can claim a 50% price reduction over the past 3 decades, and we're very proud of the role that we're playing to help reduce the cost of travel for Canadians, many of whom are struggling with the cost of living. However, in that same period of time, while airfares have been cut in half, third-party fees and taxes on air travel in Canada have increased by more than 65%. Today, these fees and taxes make up more than 25% of the total ticket price, one of the highest rates in the world. And of course, the results are predictable. When ticket prices rise, fewer individuals can afford to travel, companies begin to limit their business development activities or cut back on servicing customers, and Canadians become less connected with each other. And we talk a lot about trade these days, and in Canada, the conversation has rightfully turned to reducing interprovincial barriers to trade, which effectively act as domestic tariffs and, unfortunately, are self-inflicted. As a country, we cannot afford outdated, ineffective, and expensive government policies that undermine the health of our economy. And yet, proposals still at play threaten to make things worse. For example, the Canadian Transportation Agency has proposed increasing the regulatory burden through the air passenger protection regulations, at a time when other countries are rejecting similar regulations as ineffective and costly for consumers. These changes represent an entirely avoidable internal tariff that will further undermine air travel affordability for Canadians. They will disproportionately impact the viability of small market air services and will foreseeably reduce rural and regional connectivity, potentially impacting some of the 93 nonstop destinations that we serve from Calgary. Now, thankfully, there is a better alternative. Reducing the burden of third-party fees and taxes on air travel by just half to a level that's roughly in line with what we see in the United States and in Europe would stimulate enough incremental demand to support an entire new airline about the size of WestJet. And of course, that would also support all of the corresponding employment and economic growth. Now, we're committed to working alongside government. We've proposed solutions that benefit both Canadians and Canada's aviation sector. And I know we have many strong advocates in the room today, and I thank you for that. WestJet has always been about partnership and collaboration, and Calgary Economic Development is a big part of that. I want to express my thanks to Brad, to the entire team at CED for pulling this exceptional event together each year. I look forward to the discussions we have today and learning from the inspiring leaders joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for your support and for being such a key part of Calgary's success story. Next up, we're going to invite Naveen Arora, Executive Vice President, TELUS, and President, TELUS Business Solutions, to say a few words. TELUS is leading the way in technology and innovation, helping businesses grow and communities thrive. Naveen, welcome to the stage.
Okay, thanks very much, Chris, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm very, very glad to be with all of you again today. Having lived in Calgary for the past 2 decades, I've seen our community evolve and our city reinvent itself time and time again. I consider myself very, very lucky to lead TELUS's global business, health, and agriculture teams from right here in Calgary. And I'm reminded daily why we remain deeply committed to this city. As Western Canada's last remaining telco, we don't just do business here. We've been built here. We grow here. We innovate here. And that thought leads me to what I want to talk about today, which is the theme, innovation. If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's that we're living in extraordinary times. Global markets are shifting and trade policies are, shall we say, in flux. I think everybody's on their phone waiting to see what's happening here right now. But here's the thing. This isn't just a challenge, it's also an opportunity. And that's why this year's theme of innovation is so fitting. This moment is forcing us to rethink our approach to domestic markets, self-reliance, and the diversification of our customer base. As business leaders, we know that those who wait on the sidelines often miss the greatest opportunities. The question is, how do we transform today's challenges into advantages for your business, Calgary, and of course, all of Canada? At TELUS, we're continuing to double down on Canadian innovation. First and foremost, our services and products are at the forefront of innovation, designed to give every business, big or small, the competitive advantage they need to win in their industry. Whether it's taking care of the health and well-being of their employees, improving agriculture yields, driving cost efficiency through technology and AI, or ensuring the very best digital customer experience for their clients. Through our $100 million Pollinator and Ventures funds, we're investing in early-stage companies that are redefining industries and creating highly skilled jobs. We're also supporting innovation with our Stand With Owners program, where we're championing local Canadian small businesses across Canada and have committed $5 million in technology, marketing, and innovation funding to them since 2020. I'm proud to say that Calgary's entrepreneurial spirit shines through in this program, with several local businesses that are winners that are here today. Take Griffin Simony and Josh Peel, co-owners of Shift Accessibility, who are transforming how we think about inclusive design and accessibility solutions. Or Jamie Parker, Mike Wenslaw, Ali Sullivan-Lapp from Heritage Roasting, who have turned their passion for coffee into a thriving business that exemplifies Calgary's innovative spirit. Then there's Scott Jenkins, Kristen David, and Doug Brown, co-owners of ZS2 Technologies, who are revolutionizing construction with sustainable, fire-resistant, low-carbon magnesium cement materials, and whose success demonstrates how local innovation can address global challenges. So please join me in a round of applause for these great local small businesses. They're absolutely making a huge difference in our community. TELUS is also fostering innovation through strategic partnerships. You just heard from John, and with WestJet, one of Calgary's and Canada's greatest success stories, we're revolutionizing the guest experience by becoming Canada's first to bring best-in-class, true high-speed internet to WestJet flights. And with NVIDIA, the global leader in AI computing, we're building Canada's first sovereign AI factory right here in our great country. Through TELUS Health, we're helping organizations around the world take care of their employees, 76 million people globally, by providing solutions to support their physical, mental, financial well-being, which ultimately helps these businesses build healthier, more engaged, and of course, more productive workforces. And through TELUS Agriculture and Consumer Goods, we're leveraging precision agronomy technology to reduce waste and maximize profitability while creating a more environmentally sustainable food system. And our integrated technologies help farmers make data-driven decisions in real time. While this is a challenging time for Canada and Canadian businesses, I truly believe that Calgary business community is built for this, and that the opportunity before us isn't just about weathering current challenges. It's about transforming how we operate as a business, community, and nation. deepening domestic supply chains, investing in homegrown innovation, removing interprovincial trade barriers, and expanding market access to build a resilient, self-sustaining, globally competitive economy. Calgary has everything it takes to lead this transformation. World-class talent, cutting-edge infrastructure, and an entrepreneurial spirit that's in our DNA. What we need now is collective action, and to ask ourselves, how do we maximize our strengths? What bold moves can we make? What partnerships can we create? How can we strategize together as one community, one city, one province, and one nation to ensure the present uncertainty doesn't impede our efforts? At TELUS, we're always ready to partner, invest, and build. This is our moment to show what Calgary can do, so let's seize it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naveen, and thank you, TELUS, and thank you to all of our sponsors for helping bring today's event to life. Now, this is a little bittersweet. We're going to welcome someone who has long been a champion for Calgary's growth and innovation. After 6 years as our board chair, Joe Lougheed's term comes to an end next month. Joe's leadership and unwavering dedication have played a pivotal role in driving Calgary's economic growth. And while we will miss his guidance, we are deeply grateful for his lasting impact. Let's welcome, for one last time, as the Chair of Calgary Economic Development, Joe Lougheed.
Well, thanks, Jerry. And thanks, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We have a terrific program ahead of us. Too early? I think it's too early. All right. On behalf of all the members of our Board of Directors from Calgary Economic Development and the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, welcome to Calgary Economic Development's 2025 Report to Community. We have a dynamic and engaging program ahead of us today, with April marking the one-year anniversary of the Blue Sky City brand being introduced to the public, and what a year it has been. We can't wait to share the exciting developments in store for this great city. Before we dive into the program, however, I'd like to take a moment to reflect and express my gratitude as my term as board chair of CD comes to a close at the end of May. I want to thank the incredible team at Calgary Economic Development, including the members of the Board of Directors of both CED and the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund. Each director I have served with over the past 6 years have been ambassadors for our city. They have provided oversight and governance, and they have left lasting impact. Most importantly, we have made many new friends and built a team that will continue to take CED into the future. To each of you, thank you. To the mayor and to the former mayor, who is also here, and to all members of City Council, past and present, and to City Administration, thank you. Success is a team sport. To those we collaborate with, other civic partners, the Calgary business community, the Calgary Chamber, the Business Council of Alberta, our post-secondary institutions, Invest Alberta, the Province of Alberta, and the Government of Canada, ministers and all their staff, and countless others, thank you, working together for Calgary and for Alberta. And of course, as we've heard, our partners and sponsors. I'd like to extend my big thanks to our presenting sponsors, WestJet and TELUS Business. Thank you, WestJet, for being the long-standing presenting sponsor of Report to the Community, and thank you, TELUS Business and Naveen, for joining us again and being our co-presenting sponsor. We greatly value your time, effort, and dedication to making this city a better place for all. Thank you as well to our gold sponsors, Aspen Properties, the Calgary Herald, the Calgary Hotel Association, and the University of Calgary, along with our silver sponsors, including Alberta Blue Cross, Calgary Arts Development, the TELUS Calgary Convention Centre, Mount Royal University, and Stone Olofsson. To each of you, your support, quite frankly, makes this event possible. Many of our sponsors are also Team Calgary partners. Our Team Calgary Partner Initiative was designed to create a team approach to economic development for our community. We now have almost 90 Team Calgary members that are supporting our community to build economic prosperity for our city. And that's why all of you are here today as well. Every day, this city is attracting investment from around the world, fostering innovation across sectors, and nurturing local talent. Calgary is emerging as a powerhouse that consistently remains competitive on a global scale. This is what makes our city unique, and I am so excited to be gathered here with you today to celebrate the possibilities of Calgary. In conclusion, thank you for giving me the honor and the opportunity to serve.
Thank you once again, Joe. We're going to miss you, but we know you're not going to be too far away. We're a bit like Hotel California. You can check out, but you cannot ever leave. Okay, so I think that we can all agree the start of 2025 has been an exceptional one. Some might even say existential, with a constant barrage of news, like today, that impact geopolitical stability and global trends. Like many of you, it's kept us busy. And not just over the last 3 months, but over the last year since we came together at last year's report to the community. For more on the year that was and how we can position our city for long-term economic resilience, I'd like to now invite Brad Perry, President and CEO of Calgary Economic Development and the CEO of the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, to the stage.
Amazing. Thank you, Jerry, and picked a hell of a day, huh? At least the sun's coming out. We got some blue skies happening, so that's good. And yeah, we had a traffic tariff tracker. We're still trying to figure it out. All we've heard so far is 25% on auto and 300% on dairy. Then he's rambling now, apparently. But anyways, I just want a quick thank you again to our sponsors, as Joe said, and to our Team Calgary partners. You know, your support means so much to us. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our board members. They volunteer their time, their expertise to help guide the work that we do. You know, and on that note, I do want to say a special thank you to Nancy Laird. Nancy, who sits on the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund board, is actually terming out now. And she was one of our original board members from day one. So Nancy, thank you so much for all that you do. We really appreciate it, and you've been fantastic. So thank you very much. I'd also like to give a big shout out to another board member who's terming out from the Calgary Economic Development Board, which is John Osler. John's been around for the last 6 years, and he's done an amazing job. So I know, John, you're not in the audience, but hopefully these vibes get you. So thanks for all that you've done for us as well. Like Jerry said, this is Joe's last time to speak as the chair of Calgary Economic Development. Maybe we'll get him back because he's the chair of another really cool organization. But Joe, honestly, on behalf of the board, on behalf of our partners, on behalf of our teams, thank you for everything that you've done and are doing for our community. It's made a difference, and we are truly grateful for that, so thank you. And finally, finally the thank yous. There's a lot more coming, don't worry. And finally, I can't say enough about the teams that I get to work with on a daily basis. Their dedication, focus, and passion for making our city better is absolutely inspiring, and I'm so thankful that I get to spend time with you. You're making a difference. So again, thank you so much for all that you're doing. All right, let's get into it. So today's event comes at a pivotal moment for our city, our province, and our country as we face incredibly high levels of economic and geopolitical uncertainty. I mean, even from those that we thought were closest to us. I mean, every day, every hour, I mean, hell, every minute now, there's new developments, especially in the tariff front, right? And I had a whole section in here that I was going to talk about all these tariff things, but since we only know a couple, I'm going to just skip over that. I'm sure everyone's looking at their phones like it's FanDuel in the third period and they're losing by 5 goals. But anyway, you know, but all of this stuff, this noise, has had an impact on pretty much everything. I mean, it's had an impact on our economy. It's had an impact on our investments. It's had an impact on our jobs. And it's even had an impact on our psyche. I mean, it's casting an even greater shadow of doubt on all those fronts and even more. And I'm going to come back to doubt in a few minutes. But, you know, what do we do with all this noise? What do we do with all this doubt? Well, we need to keep focused on the long game. Calgarians are resilient and innovative. We've faced challenges before, and our get stuff done mentality is going to help us, and we can apply that to make sure that we have future growth in the economy and our sectors. So today I want to reflect a little bit on where we've been, but more importantly, I want to talk about where I believe our city is heading and how we can and should be the innovative capital of Canada. So let's start off with the accomplishments for CED and OSIF. You know, 2024 was a strong year for us, and you know, while we had a bunch of highlights, which I'll touch on a few in a moment, I just want to start off by talking about our Work Integrated Learning Program, which was a pilot program called Talent Ed YYC. This program, thank you, yes. This program was built to help connect students with local businesses for hands-on learning. Now, unfortunately, the pilot is coming to an end after 2+ years, but you need to know it did generate over 3,200 opportunities for students. Half of those were with underrepresented communities. It also engaged almost 1,500 businesses throughout that time. So thank you to the team. You've been amazing. The work that you've done will go on. We know that this program will have a lasting impact on our economy, and along with the other work that we do at Calgary Economic Development to attract investment and jobs. And speaking of jobs, we were able to attract, support, or create 7,400 jobs last year. We were also able to secure over $700 million of investment into the community. I mean, we saw companies like Goodleaf Farms open a regional facility here. Companies like Fortinet, Wealthsimple, Very Park also made Calgary part of their growth strategy. You know, the headwinds that have been caused by these tariffs and the talk of tariffs have brought an even greater spotlight on the work that we do around trade, which is why we've doubled down on the trade front by supporting our local companies find new trade opportunities around the world. Our Trade Accelerator program had a record-breaking year. We supported over 130 small and medium-sized enterprises in 17 countries around the globe, which resulted in 42 deals and delivered over $11 million in revenue back into our community. The film and TV sector has never been busier. The interest in our city as a film and television destination is at an all-time high. Last year, we saw our city move up the Movie Maker rankings from 8th place to 5th place among the best places in the world to live and work as a movie maker. And that's a testament to our community of being on that list. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we weren't even on the list. Now we're number 5. And speaking of number 5, we're also the 5th most livable city in the world, and the number 1 or most livable city in all of North America. Yes, let's hear it. You know, in our yearly perceptions research that we conduct, we found that 71% of business leaders across North America now see Calgary as a place where they can build a prosperous business. Even with that uncertainty, that grew by 4% from 2023. We also saw that favorability of Calgary remained unchanged at 74%. And what was interesting is that business leaders and talent now associate Calgary with opportunity. Now, that number is 5th across the pieces that people recognize our city for. Opportunity wasn't even on the top 20 last year. So it's making a difference. People are starting to hear our stories. And it's this limitless opportunity that our civic brand, the Blue Sky City, is built on. I mean, the brand is more than just 333 days of sunshine. I mean, it truly embodies the spirit of Calgary. It's a place of unexpected possibilities where bold ideas become reality. In 2024, Calgary attracted over $630 million of venture capital investment. That's 1,000% or a tenfold increase in 6 years. It's incredible. I mean, in that same time frame, as you heard before from the mayor, tech talent growth has increased to 78%. And we're now the fastest growing tech talent hub in North America. Since 2019, our startup ecosystem valuation has grown 235%. It's now valued at over $8 billion. It was only $2 billion, just over $2 billion 5 years ago. But none of this happens by accident. You heard the mayor talk about 2018 when the City Council took the bold step to establish the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund to ensure Calgary's future economy is diversified and resilient. To date, OSIF's attracted almost $1 billion in additional investments in our community of the funds committed. That's an 11 times return on the investment. It's also helped create over 3,000 jobs, and it's helped scale and create almost 900 companies. I mean, last year we invested in things like the OSIF Express program, which provides local companies the fuel to attract and train the talent they need to be successful. We also supported the National Bank Investor Hub with our partners at Platform Calgary to help unlock capital for those companies. And we supported the Knowledge Society, or TKS. This is a program that lets underrepresented kids get exposure to tech entrepreneurs at a grade school level. We're now training the next generation of entrepreneurs. And this is why OSIF is such a critical tool for the growth of our economy in our city. So, we've seen a lot of momentum, we're talking about that, but you know, there's still some doubt out there. And I remember I came back 5 years ago, as a matter of fact, and I came here knowing what was possible. I understood what was happening in the ecosystem. But I remember having a conversation with people, and you know who you are, who kept asking me, come on, Brad, do you actually believe that this whole tech and diversification thing's gonna happen? I said, absolutely. Absolutely will, because our history of innovation is deeply rooted in our community. I mean, we only have to look at the energy sector as an example. They've pioneered cutting-edge technologies like how to drill with laser-like precision to create more efficient processes to extract our natural resources. But we also saw at that time established companies work with startups, researchers, and capital, which all came together to create an ecosystem that's led to us being the energy capital of this country. Even then, people still doubt. The last 2 months, I mean, let's be honest, the last 6 months, the whole world's been flipped on its head. I mean, this uncertainty's put a massive dent in every economic growth forecast that we've seen. I mean, ATB is now forecasting that our GDP growth in our province is going to be at 1.5% this year. That's a full point less than it was in the December forecast. But not only are we hearing about lower economic growth, we're also seeing inflation creeping up. Recession now is a very real possibility. And something that we haven't heard for decades is starting to permeate conversations. Stagflation. So most of this is outside of our control. But what's in our control is how we respond. We need to focus on diversification of industry, diversification of sectors, diversification of economy, and diversification of trading partners. Easy to say. How do we get there? Well, we go back to who we are. We're a city of doers, dreamers, builders, but most of all, we're a city of innovators. And now's the time to go all in on innovation. It's innovation that moves our economy forward with new ideas, new products, and new services. It's innovation that builds a diversified economy and a resilient one. It's innovation that will help boost productivity. Now, this is probably not going to be popular, or it might be a shock to some people, but I don't believe that cities should be the innovators. That's right. Cities should and must create the environment where innovation and innovators can flourish. Cities should and need to be the first adopters of innovation. Now, to get there, we need the mechanisms that de-risk innovation so we can be the place where not only are we able to nurture and grow local innovators, local entrepreneurs, and local risk takers, but also be a place where the world's best innovators want to come to be part of something special. I mentioned momentum. We're seeing it. Obviously, there's a bit of a bump. But you know what? If we want to continue this momentum, if we want to truly be the innovation capital of this country, we have to be intentional about how we get there. I mean, a few years ago, I talked at this event, actually, about placing bets on our economy. And frankly, I said, placing bets implies that we're leaving things to chance. Our economy is way too important to be leaving it up to chance. So that's why today, in collaboration with our players across the innovation ecosystem in Calgary, we're talking about and announcing and launching a community innovation strategy. A few years ago, we did a bunch of research to look at some of the most successful innovation ecosystems around the world. And we found that they had a few common elements. This included sector-specific supports, a mix of established companies that reinvest in the community and the ecosystem, but also provide guidance to our smaller companies. Governments that help de-risk early-stage investments are key. And incubators and accelerators that are supported by a critical mass of startup and scale-up capital. Now, we know Calgary has a lot of these elements already. We have a young, educated, ambitious workforce. We have industries who can apply new ideas. We have the capital that's needed to fuel it. And we have some real-life examples. We have the Life Sciences Innovation Hub, the Quantum Hub up at the University of Calgary. We have the Aerospace Innovation Hub at the airport. We have the Energy Transition Center downtown. We have Platform Calgary in the center of our city. And we have a similar vision for other industries like creative, agribusiness, transportation, logistics, and more. We also have very important organizations, again, like Platform Calgary, that is the ecosystem builder for our startup community. We have the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund that'll be the tool that helps drive these strategic investments. We already have great post-secondaries who are doing amazing work. And we have Canada's most entrepreneurial university right here in Calgary. A lot of momentum. Here's the thing, we just can't hope. We just can't hope that it's going to sustain itself. Because you're going to love this one, because you haven't heard this yet. Hope is not a strategy. We have to be intentional. We have to be intentional that we want to become the innovation capital of this country. You know, as part of this innovation strategy, we need the environment where startups, researchers, industry leaders collaborate and scale new ideas and technology. We need to remove barriers of entry into the ecosystem. We need to enhance the impact of our innovation ecosystem through focused IP strategies, expansion of regulatory sandboxes that help de-risk, and also capital wayfinding. And we need to tell a cohesive story about the innovation that's happening right here, right now, in our city. And we need to tell it locally, we need to tell it nationally, and we need to tell it internationally. But what's truly going to set us apart from other places around the world is by connecting these hubs or these nodes to create a citywide network of innovation that can share, that can create, that co-create new ideas, new IP, new companies. This is going to require collaboration like we've never seen before. It's not going to be easy. I mean, you know, Calgary's superpower, it's its kryptonite. We get stuff done as a city. But you know, we don't always do it together. So we need to change our mindset. We need to adopt, we need to adapt, and we need to engage. I mean, we've never been more united as a country. Now's the time for us to capitalize on that sentiment and turn it into action. We do that by taking an intentional approach to innovation and collaboration. What we know is if we get this right, we could generate 187,000 jobs and contribute $28 billion of economic activity in our community in the next 10 years. Now, obviously, we know there's going to be some pain. No matter what happens today or what we hear in the next coming hours, next coming days, the next coming weeks, months, or maybe even years. But what we do know is that as a community, we have to keep believing in ourselves. Our city was built by dreamers, doers, and yes, you guessed it, innovators. And that's the same spirit that defines our blue sky city. And I don't doubt for a second that we, as a city, can be the innovation capital of this country. I don't doubt that this is a city that can lead. And I sure as hell don't doubt that this is a city where anything is possible. Thank you.
It's too risky. It can't be done. It won't work. It's not realistic. You'll fail. You can't. It's not possible. It's what they tell us. It's what we tell ourselves. Good thing we don't listen.
Ready?
We're ready.
But we needed the opportunity to let it grow. And we found that opportunity right here.
It's about making real impact. I'm going to stay here and work here.
This is the city that we see a future with. And we're ready right now.
Thank
It
you.
is possible in the Blue Sky City.
Thank you, Brad. Last year, a report to community, we launched Calgary's civic brand, Blue Sky City, with many of you in the room today. Since we launched, we've seen other civic partners, community organizations, and businesses embrace it. Our new brand reflects Calgary as a city where people and cultures and land and ideas come together to create what's possible. We believe Calgary's story is one of limitless possibilities, as you heard Brad say. We also believe Calgary is uniquely positioned to withstand economic uncertainty because we've done it before, many, many times. Our grit and resilience and our sense of community are what sets us apart and keeps us moving forward. Now, a year later, we wanted you to be the first to see how we're making Blue Sky City tangible for our audiences. At CD, we're storytellers for our city. It's our job to be cheerleaders for our city, locally, nationally, and internationally, to attract the jobs and the investment. That video you just saw is part of how we'll share Calgary's story as a place where you can build a meaningful life and a meaningful career. Throughout the year, we work with Chris and his team to understand which national and international markets have the greatest potential, and it's there that we go to tell Calgary's story. So, to showcase what some of this momentum looks like, specifically in some of our sectors, we're going to hear from leaders driving growth and leading innovation in our city.
Today, we have 4 leaders who are testament to Calgary's blue sky thinking, who will give us a snapshot of their current state of their sector, an overview of how Calgary companies are embracing global trends, and a look at where we're going in a lightning round presentation. First up, we have Kevin Krausert, CEO and co-founder of Avatar Innovations. Kevin is a champion of scaling and commercializing new ideas in the energy industry. The floor is yours, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Chris, for the kind introduction. My great-grandfather moved here to a small town a couple dozen miles from here called Turner Valley over a century ago. And he was brought across an ocean to build some of the very first steam rigs for Imperial Oil. And his hard work and his determination would lead to not just Canada's generational resource play, Canada's largest export industry, but also build the city and the towers that are around us. And and it's also the reason that I was born into a 4th-generational drilling family that allowed me in my career to travel, work, study, and live in over 30 countries around the world. But it's also the reason that it brought me back here to Calgary and what I think is the capital of what is going to lead the next stage in energy innovation to the world. And I think we all know, all of us who's been living the last 6 months, that it probably feels like the world's being flipped upside down. And I'll give you just 4 examples. After nearly a century of the normal ups and downs and booms and busts of the energy industry and a conversation around climate, we've seen a reawakening that after decades of global collaboration and trillions of dollars of global dollars spent into climate, the planet has yet to make a dent in global emissions and with facing increasing climate disasters. We need a plan B, to say nothing of the bank's changing sentiments around investment. We also face a new world around artificial intelligence. In the electricity and power market, in an industry that had been generally flatlined for decades, is now facing explosive energy demand in a world that is going to be voraciously trying to fill these. And global trade. I don't think today I need to really comment on that one. I can leave that one alone. You'll get my point. And building. In the last 6 months, we've seen a sea change in sentiment across our country where 81% of Canadians now support the construction of new pipelines. What? So you ask, amidst this crazy uncertainty where the assumptions that we had taken for granted for decades have been flipped upside down, how do we drive what is going to be the next stage in energy innovation in a world of such uncertainty? And to frame that, we have to understand how we got here. And so the first piece that I do know is true is that there's only one thing more strongly correlated, and that is the relationship between prosperity and energy. If you look in the growth of energy, and really since the hydrocarbon economy has started driving in the 1950s, you've seen astrometric rise in global prosperity. But look at energy demand. There is no better correlation between energy and prosperity than the access that an individual or our planet has to energy. And so if we want to drive the world into the next phase, we need more energy. But how are we going to do that in a world with increasing climate concerns? So let's look at what I call the history of energy innovation. We started off with people like my great-grandfather who were wildcatters. They would, with a lot of manual labor, build a wooden rig on a location and drill down and hope for the best. And that entrepreneurial spirit unlocked an industry. But then we realized it was kind of inefficient, and we entered the researchers. The researchers came in and think, deep, long research and development agreements, white lab coats and ivory towers, and we unlocked the oil sands through much of this research. But then it became very expensive, and we had an outsourcing of that innovation to the service companies in sort of the 2000 era. Where actually, when we truly commercialized the oil sands and we truly unlocked shale, it was actually the innovation of the service companies that were sort of bringing in a sort of a new structure around IP. And we also were in an era where everybody in the city knew a junior, where everybody knew somebody who raised $10 million, got and drilled 10 wells, exited, and did it again. It was like the Silicon Valley of energy. But then the Saudis decided to flood the oil market, and we went into the what I'm going to call the startup era. And instead of the ivory towers of research labs of institutions, it went into young entrepreneurs in garages and labs trying to commercialize. But today we face a reckoning in the energy venture capital model that after huge amounts of investments that have been flooded into it, there is a global moment of reckoning around how we're going to finance it and how can you expect an industry operating multi-billion-dollar plants to be innovated by a 3-person team in a garage. So where do we go from here? And I guess that's where maybe Avatar comes in. In the depths of in the darkest hours of the pandemic, key leaders from the oil and gas industry came together and came up with what we thought was a new model for global innovation. How could we take the best of the stages of innovation, the wildcat entrepreneur, the researcher in the lab, the driller on the rig floor, and the startup, and come up with a new forum where employees of oil and gas companies could work as small, semi-autonomous teams alongside researchers with access to capital so they would understand what the industry problems are and have the means to where the large companies would be empowered with the nimbleness of a startup, and the startup would be empowered with the horsepower of a large cap. And Avatar was born just 4 years ago, and what we have now accomplished in a pretty short period of time is our first hub was in Toronto. And from there, we actually found investors in Toronto that were actually interested in what a new model for industrial innovation and energy venture capital financing would deliver. But it didn't take us long before we made friends in Houston. And we are now pleased to be operating with ExxonMobil, Phillips 66, Williams, Halliburton, and many other leading pure-play energy companies where they're working on technologies in partnership with Calgary investors. And then it didn't take very long for the world's largest energy company, Aramco, to wonder what were we up to. And we're pleased now to be operating with 50 brilliant engineers in Dhahran, the Middle Eastern oil capital. And then we realized we needed artificial intelligence expertise, so we partnered with Hitachi, one of the world's leading artificial intelligence developers, to develop many of the technologies sort of behind us. And now, with some of our partnerships, we're operating in Pittsburgh and Vancouver. And so in this just 4 years periods of time, amidst this world of crazy uncertainty, the new model of energy innovation, I can't think of a better place to build it than right here in Calgary. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for your insights on how energy is evolving and how Calgary continues to lead the way in innovation. Calgary has always been and always will be Canada's energy capital in all forms of energy. It means pioneering new energy solutions, investing in emerging technologies, and redefining what it means to power the future. Just a couple weeks ago, CED, in partnership with Transition Accelerator and all 3 levels of government, launched the Calgary Region Hydrogen Hub to reduce barriers to investment, encourage collaboration, and accelerate our progress in the hydrogen economy. But energy isn't the only sector where we're pushing boundaries.
The next industry we're going to spotlight is one that impacts every single one of us, and on one we all depend: agriculture. Agriculture has always been foundational to Alberta's economy. The sector contributed $22.6 billion to provincial GDP in 2023 and employs over 500,000 people in this province. And it's more than just about farming. It's about how we use technology to feed a growing global population. As the world moves towards more sustainable food systems, Calgary is emerging as a leader in ag tech innovation. So here to tell us more about the future of agribusiness in our city, please welcome to the stage Ben Graham, President of AdFarm.
Thank you. Those are some big numbers. Okay, we've been sitting here for a while. How many people are involved in agriculture and food every day in the audience today? See your hands. There's a few. Who has a stake in agriculture and food in the audience? A few more. Who had breakfast or lunch today? I think we all can agree we all have a stake in agriculture. You know, 5 minutes is going to go fast, so I'm going to jump through some stuff here pretty quick. Current state was one of the things they wanted us to touch on. Of course, we've heard it lots. We're going to hear more and more of it every day. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. Agriculture has had a unique place in the tariff world long before Trump came along. One of the most damaging issues to ever hit Canadian economy was a thing called BSE. Does everyone remember BSE? 2003, we were completely shut out of every global market. Not a tariff, it was shut right off. We could not ship one animal, one product outside of our boundaries for a very long time. Is that a bad tariff? It's a terrible tariff. Do we have a beef industry today? We have a really good one. One of the top in the world. High quality product, diversified across, great environmental footprint, and we had no market for years. So, and it didn't stop there. Then India decided that they didn't want to take our pulses. And pulses are a very important economic driver for a farmer in Western Canada. We managed to get through that one. Today, farmers still grow pulses in Western Canada. You can add in canola. Canola was hit in 2019 by China when they decided not to send or to buy product from 2 of our largest grain handling companies. So it was a devastating tariff. We still grow canola, last time I checked. So when we talk about resilience, I've heard in innovation, one of the things that I can guarantee you in a tariff world is we will still grow food and agricultural products as the Trump era goes through. Okay, so I'm going to move quickly to strengths in agriculture. We have a really robust ecosystem in Calgary. We have our post-secondary groups, we have UFC, we have Olds College, we have numerous head offices. We have 7 agriculturally based life science companies that have their Canadian headquarters in Calgary, more than anywhere else in the country by far. Companies like BSF, Bayer, Corteva, Syngenta, New Farm, you know, big multinational global agricultural brands have chosen Calgary. We have the Stampede. We have things like when we look at our investment on dollars that are available to invest in agriculture, we have a really strong place that we can drive growth through our agricultural sector. And remember, we all need to eat. It's one of the few sectors that has a future almost guaranteed, right? I bet you there's some oil executives in the audience today that would love for somebody to guarantee a future for their company. So if we jump through that to that future state, where does it take us to for tomorrow? We do have a very bright future ahead. This sector has innovation that is driven into this over the last 10 years that would boggle people's minds. We have harvesters that will harvest grain that have AI built into them today that will analyze over 800 activities every second to make sure that piece of equipment is optimized and running at its best and driving the efficiency that it can. And when you're driving $1 million piece of equipment around a field, you want it to be very effective. That transformation, the amount of data generated off of a common farm, whether it's a livestock operation or a crops operation, will blow your mind. There's almost an infinite amount of data, and AI is going to harness that data and turn it into food safety, quality. The sky is truly the limit. When we look at creator of jobs, the other thing that we've talked lots about today and we're going to hear of in the future, you can throw a job or a career at me up here on the stage, and I will find a spot or an example that you could play in agriculture. We have NASA has a new agriculture division. The amount of data that we just talked about for data scientists, for accountants, for people to look at engineering and productivity. Agriculture will have a job for the future, for our children, and for people that want to repurpose their careers for an infinite amount of time. That value chain is going to require educated labor and workforces, and that's where our post-secondary institutions come in. If you look at the opportunity that we have to be a global leader in ag tech and innovation, there's nothing that holds us back. We have the entrepreneurs, we have the workforce, we have the geography and location. It's one of the areas when you're landlocked, that's okay for agriculture. As long we've heard about our inland ports and things that we're working on to help move our product, but land is a good thing in agriculture. When we look at those pillars of where we can go tomorrow, it is just, you can't even begin to imagine the innovation that is going to come when we inject the innovations that is coming from all the sectors. And Brad talked a lot about we don't do it very well together. And agriculture is probably just as guilty as any other sector for that problem, especially within their own agriculture world. The beef guys don't talk really good to the crop guys. The crop guys don't really talk good to the dairy guys. That's changing. This new generation really wants to break down barriers. But you look at all the sectors that Brad and others have talked about today, they all play in agriculture. How many drones are going to be involved in agriculture in the next 5 to 10 years? Massive amounts. So our aerospace industry. You look at high-tech sensors, evaluating algorithms and changes in climate, agriculture. So when you start putting your thoughts around an industry that has some of the best opportunity in the world, there's not one that has a better footing than agriculture. And we have a great spot here. We have a great city. People want to live here. We have 1 million+ arable acres of land within a car drive from Calgary. We have the tools we need. Now we need to just embrace the fact that we all kind of like breakfast, dinner, and lunch, right? We have to not be afraid of a sector. If you're an investor, don't be afraid. Look for opportunities in agriculture. Learn about the industry. Everyone in the industry wants to help people learn. So my encouragement is, everyone, become a champion for agriculture. Look for opportunities for your children in agriculture. Look for opportunities in the business you work in agriculture. And I guarantee the sector will continue to give back to our economy in Calgary and abroad for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Agriculture is one of the world's most essential industries, and it's evolving faster than ever before. By 2050, the world's population is expected to hit 10 billion people. That means food demand will increase dramatically, and Calgary has the opportunity to lead the way in sustainable food production. From precision farming and AI-driven crop management to plant-based proteins and vertical farming, Calgary is at the edge of agricultural innovation. Aviation and aerospace is yet another industry that has a long history of driving technology development.
Calgary's aerospace industry is gaining global recognition. with innovation in sustainable aviation, defense technology, and drone applications. Last year, the Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund made multiple investments to support the growth of this sector in Calgary, including into the Aerospace Innovation Hub. The hub offers supports for companies scaling new solutions in the aerospace and advanced manufacturing sectors. To complement this investment, OSIF also invested in SAIT's Aerospace Composite Materials Lab to find solutions for the industry's biggest challenges, including improving aircraft performance and reducing its environmental impact.
And earlier this year, we saw German aviation company Lufthansa Technik land in the Blue Sky City and announce Calgary as its Canadian headquarters and a place where they will drive aerospace innovation. Calgary is now the 8th place in the world where we can test LEAP B engines. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for what's happening here. To tell us more, please welcome Kimberly Van Vliet, founder of WaVv and ConvergX, and director of Calgary's Aerospace Innovation Hub.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. Who would have thought aerospace would have been in this whole discussion here in Calgary? I mean, seriously, this is awesome. So what I'm going to do is, before we get into that, I'm just going to give you a little brief overview of aerospace so we can get our mind thinking out of the box and innovatively. So if anybody's ever heard me speak before, they know that I always say that aerospace is an umbrella hub, or an umbrella industry, where everything feeds in and out of it. We can't do anything in the aerospace industry without our energy industry, without our agricultural industry, without our tech industry, and vice versa. There's a lot of in and out and up and down going between aerospace as a sector. So it's not just something that flies, it's everything else that goes from subsurface to space. So, as we have heard, Calgary is home to key aerospace players such as de Havilland Aircraft, and also now Lufthansa Technik, which is amazing. And de Havilland will bring in main manufacturing operations to de Havilland Field coming soon, so they're working on that right now, which reinforces the city's role in aircraft production. Of course, we also have WestJet here, one of our main airliners and their anchors here in the City of Aviation, and we appreciate that so much, as also one of our partners in the Aerospace Hub, which I'll get to in a second, who also helped bring in Lufthansa Technik into the city, which will also boost additional aerospace innovation. We have many local firms here leading in autonomous systems alongside global giants. So we have Lockheed Martin Technologies, we have Raytheon Technologies, we have Bell Textron, we have General Dynamics, we have Field Aviation, we have GE Aerospace, we have 3M, and we have Arcfield, just to name a few. So we have been a major player in the aerospace world in this country for quite a long time. Innovation is thriving with the launch of the Aerospace Innovation Hub. And so, like I said, backed by OSIF, our key partners are, of course, the University of Calgary. We also have WestJet, as well as the Calgary Airport Authority, who are part of this. They also, we can keep scrolling. The University of Calgary, so one thing about the University of Calgary is the key role that they play in research and development, but also in space. And I'm just going to run to my notes here for a second because I had to write this down because it's pretty incredible what they do in space at the University of Calgary. So they have the Calgary Aerospace Network. They have space research. They have participated in over 20 space missions. Did anybody know that? Like, it's crazy. Yes, that's a round of applause. That's huge. They also have key relationships with NASA and European Space Agency. They have the Aerial Imaging Group, sorry. They have the Aerospace Compressible, I can't even read my own writing, Flow Research. And they have the Space Defense Technologies Alberta, so SD Tech. And they also have the Aerospatial Observatory. So lots of opportunities we have, and I know for a fact that NATO is paying attention to what UCalgary is doing in space. So the aerospace sector is also a major employer in Calgary, and they're offering a range of positions, everything from engineering to administrative roles, and continues to fuel regional economic growth. Okay, on to our next slide. So, what are our strengths? So Calgary is rapidly becoming a Canadian aerospace powerhouse. We're getting noticed all across the country as to what we can do here due to its strategic location, our innovative ecosystem, and global connectivity. With proximity to major air corridors and direct access to the Arctic and the Pacific, this city is ideal for logistics, surveillance, and aerospace and defense operations. It's also home to over 500 aerospace and aviation companies, including, of course, like I said, the headquarters of WestJet and TELUS. The city leads in advanced technologies like UAVs, unmanned systems, geospatial data, autonomous systems, and it has a growing sustainable aviation fuel industry or synthetic aviation fuel industry, which is what we're working on at the Aerospace Innovation Hub in creating, starting off with a roundtable, but there's opportunity to create a cluster here for sustainable aviation fuel. There is a huge, a lot of eyes are on this city actually across the country, knowing that we can bring our energy industry together with our aerospace technology solutions, put them together to really push forward the sustainable aviation fuel for the future. The Aerospace Innovation Hub is growing, and we support a lot of collaboration and commercialization with a lot of major players, everything from large companies to small companies, mid-sized companies. So we have a lot of support moving in that way. Calgary is a business-friendly environment and has hugely skilled talent so now we're on to the future state. So hugely skilled talent, compatible industries like our energy, as I said, industry, manufacturing center, our industry, agricultural, our tech industry is huge. And then we also have world-class institutions like University of Calgary, I mentioned, Mount Royal University, and we have SAIT. And SAIT has also been named as one of the NATO Diana test centers. So Calgary is increasingly being chosen by global firms as a launch pad for aerospace and Arctic-focused operations. So Calgary is also poised to become a national hub for aircraft manufacturing, as we mentioned, and is, of course, anchored by TELUS, as I mentioned, and Lufthansa Tech. The city is expected to see growth in the next-gen aircraft platforms, including sustainable and hybrid propulsion systems, and advances in unmanned systems, AI, and satellite services. This will also position Calgary in the forefront of aerospace technologies. So also being with this strategic location, as I mentioned before, there will be support for Arctic logistics. So right now, as you may have heard or may not have, there was announcements on increasing our Arctic security, and there was an announcement for our bases. 3 new bases are going to be built up in the Arctic. So Calgary is in a unique position to be able to help support that construction and that infrastructure. As well, we have the ability for cold weather testing and collaboration with NORAD and NATO. And one of the things that is coming, which is really exciting, is the Aerospace Innovation Hub is going to be hosting NATO Ignite. It's the first NATO conference that we've had in Canada in about 8 years. And it's happening here in Calgary, and it's all to do with innovation and innovative technologies and solutions that could help with NATO and what's going on with NATO. So Calgary is also set to lead in green aviation, as I mentioned, through the sustainable aviation fuel and materials innovation. Lots of opportunity there and collaborating with our agricultural industry as well. So the maturing of the Aerospace Innovation Hub backed by OSIF and Innovate Calgary and the University of Calgary and and the Airport Authority, as well as WestJet, and new partners are coming in, are already attracting many startups and large corporations to this city. So with a growing global profile, Calgary is attracting aerospace talent, and we as a city are easily able to integrate with global supply chains with where we're located. And so to expand the education pipeline and to support the evolving needs of a thriving aerospace system, we have a unique position in this country. So thank you all for your time, and I look forward to talking with you later today.
Can you hear me? There we go. Thank you, Kimberly. That was very interesting. Clearly, aerospace is really taking off. Okay, mediocre jokes aside, Calgary is already a critical hub for aviation, logistics, and defense innovation. The aerospace sector in Alberta contributed $1.6 billion to GDP and employed over 20,000 Albertans in 2023.
As we've heard today, new technologies, including the adoption of AI, are driving productivity and efficiency across all industries. It feels like we are just beginning to see what's possible with the use of AI. To pull back the curtain behind how this transformation is happening, please welcome Hanif Joshagani, co-founder and CEO of Calgary-based unicorn, Cement.
Testing, okay. Hey everyone, so I thought I should give you guys a little bit of an overview of what's happening in AI. It's everywhere, it's moving incredibly fast, and guaranteed, it's either already impacted every one of your lives or it soon will. Nobody is going to be untouched by what's happening right now. 90 days ago, they used to say that AI is going to be the greatest revolution in technology since like electricity and the internet. Most people now believe it'll dwarf those things. It'll blow past both of those things in terms of an impact. It's kind of scary and it's kind of exciting. What's scary about it is if you listen to the top experts, most of them believe that like more than half, maybe 2/3 of all white collar jobs can get wiped out easily. The cool part of it is it doesn't mean everybody's going to be unemployed. It could be disruptive, but you know, as we said, prosperity matters. Per capita income is what, like 50 grand? If every one person can use 1 million bots and do a bunch more work, maybe per capita GDP becomes 200 grand, maybe 500 grand. It could unlock the next era in prosperity acceleration in a way that we've never experienced before. One of the guys that I listen to and I really, really respect in this space believes that in the next 10 to 20 years, poverty, the need to work versus the desire to work, the need to work to put food on the table, at least in the Western world, could be fully wiped out by AI. So it is a big deal, but it also creates a lot of disruption. It's an energy hog. There's all these kinds of things. So I thought maybe for everyone, I should talk a little bit about what was machine learning and AI? What did it become very quickly since 2022? What are some of the examples of the way it's already transformed our lives? And what's coming next? And then hopefully through the story, I can tell you guys a little bit about, okay, how do you guys in the audience internalize this as individuals, as business leaders, and as participants in our ecosystem? So I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to accomplish all of that. I've had 2 rides, Canadian rides, just to be clear, before getting on to get away. I thought I was gonna present to a couple hundred people. When they said 1,200, I went immediately to the bar. So. I think I'm going to do a good job, but yeah, bear with me. So let's start with, what was it? Machine learning has been around forever and a day. I think I started working with my first decision tree machine learning model like 20 years ago. Most of the algorithms that you see there on the board are basically things that either classify things, predict things, identify things, and they do it either in a very basic linear way or in a complicated unrelational way or via images. Like those are the bookends of the way AI was being used. Most of these things were sequential or they were systems, And then along came, and the applications were some of the things that you've already seen. Netflix has been using it forever and a day. Hedge funds have been using it, using algo trading forever and a day. You know, industrial companies for predicting and alerting on spills and things like that have been using it for a really long time. It's been used in oil and gas quite extensively for everything from image recognition to predicting topology and things of that nature. So it's already been there. But, you know, and including our company, right, like Cement, and when we founded the company, in order to truly leverage AI, there was a barrier between the average person or even computer scientists and accessing it. And that had to do with scale and complexity and some of these other things. So everybody needed like AI researchers and PhDs and a whole bunch of investment, and that was an entire department of our business. Now I have people using AI in our company that are high school interns. Like that happened in 4 years. From you need a PhD to have a 15-year-old running a database. So how did that happen? The complexity got unlocked via a couple of key innovations that happened over the last couple of years. And I'm going to try to skip a slide here. There you go. So there's this paper that was released in 16 or 17 around transformer architecture. And so this thing that used to be the limiting factor to AI was that you couldn't understand language. Why? Because the further you went from one word to like 5 words later, you start to forget everything else. The combination of graphing GPUs, and anyway, it's a really boring thing, but all of a sudden it could understand all the text at the same time, score all the relational words, and all of a sudden it could understand language. That was a really big unlock. Combine that with graphing processors, all of a sudden you were able to like really understand language and generate language, and that came with scaling as well. So 3 major things happened. There was transformer architecture, so now all of a sudden you could understand language. We applied incredible hyperscalers, you know, cloud systems like Microsoft and Google had a big thing to do with this. We applied an incredible amount of scale to it, and we started to use humans in the process to basically score and reward the AI for what it did well or didn't do. And then all of a sudden, these things that even the researchers themselves didn't realize was possible, the system started to do, like magically. Most people were confounded by it, to be honest, at the beginning. Which is, it started to generate code, it started to understand code, it started to be able to like interact with people. Now people like writing, like talking to the system and building software. Another prediction of Vilet, the guy that I follow quite a bit, is that all software, computer science is going to just disappear as a discipline. Most people are going to be able to strategically architect things, speak into a system, and then it's going to kind of just do it. The early versions of that are already happening. So there's this huge democratization happen, where all of a sudden, instead of needing a bunch of researchers, via like a language module, context, and an API, pretty much anybody who spent a weekend on YouTube learning could pretty much access the systems and start to do really, really, really incredible things with it. That changed the way we build products, the amount of money that has to go into building software, the speed of innovation, everything just turned on its head. Since 2022, I believe, capital, total VC investment into innovation has tanked. And yet, 70,000 startups have been created. The speed with which you can build innovation, bring it to market, the accessibility of it, it's just completely transformed. Right now, we're sitting at about $400 billion in AI investment as of right now, and most people believe that that's going to just absolutely balloon. So this is where we're sitting today, and those are the key innovations that contributed to it. And I thought that this is important to speak to everybody about, because when you talk to the average business person, they've heard ChatGPT, they've heard about LLMs, but there isn't this real understanding of like what just happened and why is it moving so quickly. It's because it just became accessible. And once it became accessible and cheap to use, everybody started using it. Whoa, what happened? Okay. And so now all of a sudden, like 85% of nothing else has been adopted by enterprise companies this fast, ever. And now it's to the point where even small town 10-person electrician companies are using it for onboarding and training, all the way to like, JP Morgan, training everybody, predicting, managing assets. They're pretty much using AI in every aspect of the way they do their work. So what does that mean for our city, the employment of our city, the prosperity of our city? Well, I wanted to give you guys some examples of what's already happened in terms of the way AI is like compressed work. I can probably look at this one. So planning a trip, and I'll try to make this real for you guys by using some of the examples from my own life as well. When me and my wife went on our last trip together that I let her plan, the planning phase took 2 weeks. There was a spreadsheet, she looked at different websites, she spent, like, it was an incredible amount of work. I, as an experiment, went and I looked at this first line. I was like, I wonder how long this takes now. And I went, and now the AI can actually, there's AI operators that can take control of your web. You put in all your passwords and they literally do things end to end and optimize on it. There's a video in there that you're going to be able to see. But the thing that used to take a couple of weeks to do can be done in a couple of minutes. Already right now, we're only a couple of years into this. Learning new skills. The bold prediction here is that everybody's going to be able to learn asynchronously, and the idea of teaching and learning is completely going to be turned on its head. There's this theory in education, which is the 2 sigma problem, which is basically if you're trying to educate people in a very personalization is always the advantage in learning. Which is why tutoring people, versus more than any other thing, status, how smart your parents were, wealth, the quality of the school, the #1 predictor in when they do these tests of how well people learn and absorb is if the education is personalized to the person, which is why private tutoring is so effective, which is then correlated to people who have access to private tutoring, which means they probably have some money. But if you can make that accessible to everybody on the planet, think about what that does to the intellectual capacity of our population. That's where education is headed. But for today, like I said, I have a 15-year-old intern at Cement that when I tell him to do something on a Friday, he's learned it by Monday. That wasn't possible even a year ago. Drafting emails, obviously there's a lot of examples of that. I mean, everybody, if you guys haven't used AI to draft an email yet, I don't know what to tell you. You're behind. Catch up quickly. Image generation, again, you've seen it all over social media and the way it's going to transform movie making, video games. They're predicting that movies will become personalized to the individual based on feedback as generation capacity goes faster and faster. It's going to completely transform. The one thing is still it's in its infancy, but I think it's going to become very, very disruptive is this thing around code generation and vibe coding. I saw a video the other day and then I had to try it for myself. I was blown away, where you can literally just talk to the machine, send it screenshots of other apps, and in the conversation, it builds the app for you. So I downloaded this exercise app. I thought it was really cool. I fed it in there. I built a crappy version of it, but good enough that like a bunch of people would want to use it. This is going to turn software development, SaaS, the tech industry on its head. Creating marketing copy, summarizing reports, that's more of the same basically. But every one of these things is compressing from days. I'll give you guys one other example. For building copy and stuff like that, Cement generates, my company generates about 1 white paper on behavioral science or computers or AI or consumer health, probably once. It used to be once a quarter and there was an entire team dedicated to it. Researchers, interviews, blah, 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 blah. We are now producing a white paper a week. And we are personalizing to our customers. So the Bank of Montreal white paper, the TELUS white paper, and we are able to produce it at incredible scale. And we're doing it with 2 people. The world has completely turned on its head in that respect. So what does that take us next? So how is this happening in Calgary? Pretty much every sector in Calgary is currently already using AI. In some form or fashion. The energy sector was using it for a long time. Like everybody has this belief that the energy sector is not technologically savvy. Not true, especially in a place like Alberta where it's very unfriendly to drill and extract that resource. Data plays a huge role, prediction machines play a huge role. Obviously the tech startup ecosystem, construction and trades, everything from predicting supply chain to putting in more accurate bids to route optimization. I've been an advisor to a whole bunch of management teams around energy companies, real estate asset management, private equity. Every single one of these companies wants somebody to help them and advise them on, okay, how do I future-proof my business given how fast this thing is moving? And they're right to be worried about it. It is going to, those who don't adapt it'll look like somebody ran them over with a train. Logistics and transportation, also huge impact. In agriculture, obviously. One of the places where it's underreported really is the speed of R&D, because so much of the R&D steps and simulations and iterations can now happen with computers. So the speed with which you can map genomes and figure out different splices of proteins and all of this stuff that happens on the healthcare and biotech side, the speed of innovation is going to really, really accelerate because of this AI stuff. There's a library of this stuff that AlphaFold that Google open sourced that's really already transforming the way R&D is done. Next slide. Oh, that would be me. So what's coming next? This is really, really interesting. There is a global race now for getting to what's called AGI, which is basically almost like a quasi-sentient capability. There's agents where people are daisy chaining these things together, so you can imagine a world where you can actually build specialist AI that do little things and then daisy chain them together and give them instructions for rules of the road on how they're supposed to work together. And then all of a sudden, the thing that would require an entire floor of engineers to plan a railway construction project or a building or a new facility could be done with one or two guys and using the agents. It's going to be completely transformational. Vibe coding, I already mentioned to you. I'll show you guys a video of that in a second. And then deeper integration into our lives. I suspect that we are probably less than 5 years away from every one of us having an AI personal assistant, either on our glasses or on our phone, that is learning from every interaction with us so that it becomes our own personal EA, combined with a super analyst, combined with the world's knowledge, sitting in your pocket, knows exactly what you want, what you need, and supporting you in every which way. So those are all the kinds of things that are probably coming on the horizon. And then I got a little excited, so I skipped saying something. So if we go back a slide, I'm going to show you guys a couple of videos right now of where it's at today. I deliberately picked videos from YouTube and TikTok. The reason why is I was trying to emphasize this is accessible to all of you because you can learn it on YouTube and TikTok, let alone if you want to go and pick up a course or something else. You can learn it inside of AI. If you go into Gemini or ChatGPT and say, teach me this, and you commit yourself to that learning, 48 hours you'll be you'll be good enough to be dangerous. And I honestly believe that if I gave anybody in this room a couple of hours of training on how to use the tools, in 1 week, you guys could have built this presentation.
All right, let's try to make AI ready to run the market. But Type.ai is the first one that actually made me switch from using Claude to write. Most people think dumping documents into ChatGPT or Claude teaches it your style. It doesn't. Type.ai actually learns and adapts to your unique writing voice. It combines state-of-the-art models into a complete writing system that helps you create better content, not just fixed grammar. The document generator creates full drafts from simple prompts, while the content ideas sidebar suggests new angles when writer's block hits. Let me show you how it works. Creating an article about diffusion-based LLMs. I put in the prompt, provided source material, and at the bottom can include examples of a writing style. Bam! It generates a styled and well-written document, even with image placeholders. Then I could jump into the editor and change anything like it's MS Word on steroids. Prompting it, it's too technical, make it more fun and entertaining. Instead of rewriting everything like in ChatGPT, it makes suggestions line by line. Or you could just accept all. It does a fantastic job and actually sounds human. You can export to PDF, Word, HTML, or Markdown formats. It even supports images, code blocks, and even math equations. If you want to try it, Type.ai offers a free 14-day trial, and plans start at just $23 per month. Even if you don't subscribe, after your trial, you still get to keep all your documents forever.
I've been waiting for this for a long time. This is incredible. You can now take your Figma designs and turn them into a fully working app or website. Let me just show you. So I have this personal landing page I designed in Figma. I go to bolt.new and paste it into their import from Figma tool. And after a few minutes, I have a fully functional website. Now, if you use auto layout in Figma, the website is automatically responsive. If not, you can actually just tell Bolt in plain English to make it responsive, and it'll work. And that's how you add features or improve the code through natural language. As an example, I want the Work With Me button to copy my business email to the clipboard and then say copy. Bolt understands it and adds a function that copies the email, changes the button state, and then reverts it back after 2 seconds. I then ask for subtle, glowing, floating particles to the background of the site. Bolt nails it, rendering them in HTML canvas. And just by typing in conversational English, I now have my design as a working website. And that, to me, is a game changer, especially if you're a designer that doesn't code or somebody who just wants speed and idea to prototype. Now, there's 2 other really useful features that I want to call out here. The inspect tool, which allows you to target a specific element while prompting, and diff mode, which allows Bolt to edit single lines of code in a file instead of having to rewrite the entire project for each change, which massively speeds up the workflow. So give it a try and let me know what you end up shipping.
So that's it. I mean, this is the world we live in now. If it was going to be a couple of things for you guys to take away, go online, learn, think about small routine things that you can do with AI, get in the habit of doing your work in a new way, and then just increase the surface area of how you leverage it over time. Thank you.
Thank you, Hanif. AI is transforming how we work, how we do business, and how we build the future. What makes Calgary's economy so powerful isn't just one sector. It's how these industries work together. Energy, agriculture, AI, and aerospace aren't evolving in isolation. They're part of a bigger ecosystem, one that makes Calgary the most exciting place in Canada for innovation and economic transformation.
All right, and that's exactly what this next conversation is about. We're bringing back our presenters for a panel discussion on how we connect the dots to position Calgary as the innovation capital for the country. So let's welcome back Kevin, Ben, Hanif, Kimberly, and to round out the conversation, Terry Rock, CEO of Platform Calgary, for a discussion with Brad. Welcome.
It's funny, I was going to ask Hanif if he had an AI that I should change slides for him, but apparently not, so. I don't care, I'll sit anywhere. Okay, thanks everybody, that was amazing. So let's kick off. So Terry, you haven't had a chance to, so Terry, who the hell are you and why are you here?
Terry Rock, the CEO of Platform Calgary, Calgary's home for innovators. Just down there, more than just a parkade. But it is a parkade.
But yeah. Okay, let's kick it off. This is going to be kind of interactive. I'm going to ask some stuff. I'm going to throw some softballs that I want to hear some stuff. So are we buying or selling Calgary can be the innovation capitalist country? Terry, buying or selling?
I bought 7 years ago.
Nice. Ben?
Buying, 100%, all the way.
Kim?
Oh, so buying.
There we go.
Buying, buying and we're selling to the rest of the world, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, buying, definitely.
Yeah. I kind of a setup question, right? That was pretty easy.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go some stuff. You know, what does it mean for you guys in your industries and your sectors to try to build this innovation forward economy for us? And I'll start with Ben. Like, what is that? Can you maybe contextualize it for the audience? I know we kind of went high level and I threw a bunch of stuff out there, but maybe just bring it back around for people to see it.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Brad. There's a couple things. In agriculture, we kind of get hit from 2 sides. There's homegrown innovation, which comes from born and raised Aggies, as we call them, that have an idea and they want to bring that innovation into their sector. Then we also have out of agricultural innovations where they think this will be transferable into agriculture. And they're 2 unique streams, but they're both super powerful. They bring 2 completely different perspectives that really will help create that innovation sector and growth for years to come.
Hey, Terry, on that point, so how does this happen? How do we make it happen? Like, from your perspective, I know you guys have an incredibly important role to play in the bigger picture ecosystem, but from your, how do we ensure we have this happening?
So we talk about faster connections between talent, ideas, and capital. And the places that have established themselves as innovation leaders tend to have more density already. So we are starting from a place of we're trying to build this, we're being very intentional about it. One of the things we have to overcome is that we just don't have the experience and the density of places that have been doing it for longer. And so as the strategy talks about, that connectivity is going to be the key, and you make up for density that you don't have yet by going faster and being connected not only here but to other markets. I think that's one of the most important things that we can focus on, and actually a big advantage of Calgary is that we're one of the most collaborative places in the country when we put our mind to it.
I want to come back to that one. It's like, Kevin, traditional energy sector.
Yeah, it's, it's kind of trying to map out in my presentation is that, we're now in a radically different energy world. We're actually talking about increasing production. And the reality is the two major breakthroughs in energy production were long-reach horizontal drilling that unlocked fracking and, the oil sands. Those are 15 years ago. And so what is that next stage? And we've been tinkering with this startup model in the industry, but Canada didn't really lean into the corporate venture capital model as much as the Americans did. But my time in Houston is they're looking for what that new investment thesis looks like, and that's, I think, what we've uncovered at Avatar. If you work inside the customer, they're going to be more likely to adopt it. So I think that that's one of the other pieces. And because the energy industry, global energy industry, is already so multi-hub model, it's Houston, it's Durand, it's Stavanger, it's all these different places. How can we just make Calgary interconnected to all of that and then have better interconnections to the tech industry, the ag industry, the aerospace, and the AI,
Do you see the same thing, Kim? Like from your perspective, do you see that as that opportunity as well to be able to, because I know we talked about the innovation hub, we looked at other markets like Rome, they have an amazing innovation hub there. Like, is that what you see as well? Is that the path to success?
Well, yeah, there's quite a few. So if you look at innovation and specific to aviation and aerospace, it's important to really look at innovation in a variety of levels, not just from the startup R&D perspective, because if you're going from that perspective, it's going to take you a startup is going to need about 10 to 12 years capital to get themselves going to that next level. So it's really important to do that partnership with other large companies and other large institutions. So it's about thinking outside the box. It's about collaboration. It's about communication and making sure everybody is aware of what you're working on. But it's also about innovation. And I also say innovation is not, again, just from startup, but it is also taking a technology that's already being used in one industry and applying it to another sector. Huge, huge opportunity. And we have that capability to do that here in the city.
So, Hanif, I just want to touch on the stuff that you talked about, because the way you're structuring it, and you and I have had this conversation a number of times, but it sounds like you don't need to have collaboration to do the stuff that you're talking about. What's your thought on that?
You do. Look, I think that the next cohort of great companies will get created where young, creative thinkers that are native to this new way of working intersect with experience in business problems. So where you have these people coming out of school that are unbiased by experience and therefore are able to think in these faster, more creative ways, working with people who know what the real world is about. To me, in Calgary, what that means is more collaboration between universities and our business ecosystem, whether that's accelerators, accelerators that target people coming up with ideas out of universities, or whether that's internships where people go work in companies and then go back. There's at least 3 or 4 co-op students that have worked at cement, left, and came up with ideas and are now on the path of building their own businesses. So I think the universities are going to play a huge role for us, and I think making applied innovation in the universities connect to our business ecosystem better is super critical. Look, in cement, some of the fastest, they're unbiased by, this is how I've always done it. And because they don't have that baggage, their ability to quickly adopt what we, with all our gray hair, think is unconventional, it's like their creativity and their naivety allows them to be super innovative. So I think if we can lean into the youth more, I think we set up this city for incredible success, honestly.
It's that whole orange cord thing, right?
Yeah.
That orange cord that runs through the office, everybody just looks at it and walks away. Nobody knows why it's there, but nobody does anything about it.
Yeah.
You just keep getting, you got blindfolded. Kevin, what do you think the competitive advantage is for us here? Like what is that unique selling proposition or superpower for Calgary that's going to help us turn this corner?
Yeah, I would say, well, one, I think it's leveraging upon our complementary assets in using your sort of lingo. And what is that? That's our incredible ability of doing resource development. You know, and how do we actually take this moment where we've just flipped all these assumptions around resource development on its head and actually seize this moment? That is going to be our superpower. In the U.S. market, they are jittery right now about investing in sort of new technologies. It's a quarter first, production first sort of mentality. How can we, if we can unlock, you know, building new pipelines in BC, let's get gas out, let's get phase 2 of LNG Canada built. That will drive the next cycle of innovation on multi-billion-dollar projects that we had when we unlocked shale and when we unlocked the oil sands. Like that will bring people to Calgary for us to drive. And we have incredible companies and incredible technologies that are already all flying up here in 2 weeks or 2 months for our Shark Tanks. Like, it's building those relationships and being able to demonstrate in a world of uncertainty that we understand the complexity, but we're still going to get projects built. If that's like my one magic wand, it's that.
Terry?
I look at competitive advantage through the lens of capital that you have, so like asset bases. And we start with human capital. You talked about it in your speech, Brad, the human capital that's here. I would add ambition. The people that are choosing to come to Calgary are ambitious, they're smart, diverse. Then Kevin just talked about what I call opportunity capital. We are positioned in key industries, all represented here, to see where the puck is going, get ahead of it, and get a head start on building the things that are going to solve it. You are, through Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund and others, are building the core infrastructure that we do this on. None of this stuff happens without that core infrastructure. We need more lab spaces. We need more places where people can build this stuff. We need, as the mayor talked about, a gateway that can do the data side. Financial capital, everybody knows that we have financial capital here in Calgary to deploy. We need, and actually every city that has made this shift has built from the capital that was built in another industry, and that has then been reinvested in innovation. And then finally, it's the entrepreneurial capital. We've done it before in other sectors. We have people here can do that. So that's why when I make the pitch for Calgary, we are the best place in the world to make this bet because of the capital that's here that just will then be recombined into this new part of our economy.
So, I mean, all of you have done work around the world, basically. So what are you seeing in other markets that is working or not working? I'd love to hear that part, because again, everybody talks innovation, everybody talks scale up, but everyone's trying to do it. I mean, I was in the UK or London a couple of years ago, and they were putting $2 billion for scale capital from the government. But what have you seen in some other markets that you guys work in? I know you guys do a ton of stuff around North America and the world, but what are you seeing that's worked or what hasn't worked?
Well, it's a good question, Brad. Yeah, there's lots of innovation going around, and in agriculture, there's hubs that are being built all over the world that are trying to attract it, but they're missing some key elements, right? In a lot of cases, they're missing access to water, right? They're missing access to land. They're missing access to that educated workforce. We have all those things, right? And where you see success is where they've eliminated the barriers and the red tape. And they've built the infrastructure like Terry talked about, like you talked about earlier, where we've done the foundational work so that innovation can thrive. And that is connectivity, access to capital, access to labor. We have to solve those problems. And with those other unfair advantages that we have in land, tax situations, ability to get, when we talk about that new entrepreneur in farming, right? They don't want to do it the way that their parents did it and their parents' parents did it. They have, yes, they know how it's been done for 100 years on their farm.
Trying to change.
They don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
So that drive and that appetite for change is something that we have that a lot of areas of the world don't have. So I think we cut ourselves short a little bit on what do we do compared to other sectors. When I look at Australia, you look at Europe, the innovation that's coming from the eco side and the climate side, they're spending a lot of attention there. We're covering it all. And we have that opportunity to really get a leg up where other jurisdictions don't.
Kim?
I see, well, in my work that I do with NATO, I see a lot of different countries doing a lot of innovative things. The thing that I see differently, though, is in Canada, we're almost ahead of the curve, to be honest with you. And so with the I know, shocking. But,
whoa, okay, hang on, time out.
but if you look at what NATO has done with NATO Diana and the test centers, they're essentially copying a program that we had here in Canada by the Department of National Defense called the IDEAS program. And so they essentially took that program and put it on a NATO scale. I think one thing that our strengths, especially here in Calgary, and NATO does look at it, is the fact that we have this global outlook, and it's presented and across diverse industry outlook as well, which is hugely represented by Innovate Calgary and all the innovation hubs that they've created. But there's also the forward-looking, and we all think outside the box. We're not looking at what's going to happen here and what do we have to do here in Calgary. Everybody looks at, okay, well, what is the rest of the world doing? And I think that's a real bonus for us in how we move things forward.
Henny, I mean, you touched it on your stuff, but you and I did have this great detailed conversation, but how do we change mindset for adoption of these new tools? Like, how do we convince?
Man, it's so hard. It's hard in a tech company. Like, it's just, the closest thing, so I was at a workshop. The closest thing I've come up with is you have to give them an outcome that is so outrageous that it's almost not doable without the AI, and tie that outcome to business value and their goals. Like, so people fundamentally behave the way they're paid, and people ultimately feel the most empowered where they understand the strategic why of why they're doing a thing. That's how you empower teams. If you just go tell them in a very tactical way, go do this, and you do that 1,000 times, you're gonna lose a lot of your people. So the thing that, I didn't come up with this, I actually learned it from this workshop that I did in Seattle with the CFO of Microsoft, Amy Wood, and she was like, the way in Microsoft we adopted this is we basically gave them these very discrete, definable KPIs of like, hey, this cash to order thing used to take 2 weeks, I want it in 15 minutes. And the reason why that's important is because it rolls up to one of the company's priorities, and this is directly tied to your advancement and everything else. Then they injected exactly what I said, which is like a lot of these kind of 20-something-year-olds to work with the experienced people, and that's really what drove it forward, because you weren't telling them to use AI, you were telling them to achieve outcomes in a completely different way, and without AI, it was beyond the laws of physics, frankly. That's the closest thing to what's worked at scale consistently that I've seen. I've tried yelling at people. It doesn't work. Like, it just, you keep repeating it, and eventually they tune you out. It's not a good look.
I've never done that. No, really, honestly.
I've heard this described as large corporations will have innovation departments, but real innovation comes when someone has to figure out how to do 100% more with less resources.
Yeah.
And then, I think the whole thing of like, how do you change a mind is you start with social. That's a big part of the Platform Innovation Center, is pulling people together. Over 140,000 people kind of came together last year, all working on solving problems in this sort of optimistic way. So I just think you change minds by getting peers together so that they can learn and in a safe place, and impossible goals.
And you don't need everybody. You need to make an example of the people that do it, because everybody else will try to compete up to that thing. So at Cement, what started to work is these kids who were doing the thing that everybody else resisted, we elevated them. We skip level their promotions and things of that nature. We made an example out of them in a positive way. And then human nature kicked in after that for everybody else.
Well, and there's one more point, Brad, too, that we have an advantage of, is innovation has to have a pathway to market. You have to have a marketplace that is willing to adopt the innovation. Right. whether it's AI, whether it's some new oil and gas technology. One of the things that agriculture has on its side is young progressive producers, whether they're growing canola or beef, they want the latest and the greatest technology, and they're willing to adapt it on a dime, where there's not a lot of sectors that are willing to take that risk instantly without being sold.
But just quick, it's important to look outside your industry too. You need to, because that solution may be in another sector, and you don't need to bang your head against a wall.
I think I heard about somebody that earlier. I don't know.
Somebody said that.
Just kidding. We could go on for another hour. This is so amazing, this conversation, but unfortunately we are at time. But before we go, lightning round, 15 seconds or less. I'm looking at you.
Okay, all right. They gave me the most time and I still ran over. I get it.
15 seconds or less. What's the one thing we can't afford to get wrong? Terry.
Speed. We've got to go fast.
Kevin.
Build. We got to build.
Kim.
Diversify. Look to other industries. Collaborate.
Anif?
Incent investment. That, to me, if all the entrepreneurial money leaves the city because people are fed up with the way things work here or in the country, we hollow it out. I mean, there's 15 seconds, sorry, keep going. Yeah, that's why he called me out.
He's here all week, try the veal. No.
People, Brad, people. We have to ensure our people are ready to collaborate, innovate. We have to make sure we don't demotivate.
Can I give you one more?
Sure,
yeah.
Why not?
We're
already over there, we're going to kill me anyways, so.
You know, we started with this, the vision from the community that we needed an innovation center for everyone, and I think that's an important part of this as we're going through this, fast, all this stuff. People have to see their place in it. Everyone does.
Couldn't agree. Please, can we hear a round of applause for our amazing panelists? Again, I wish we could spend more time, guys. I wish we could have a lot more time, but thank you so much for taking time today. Thanks for sharing your insights, and I can't wait to keep this ride going, so appreciate it. Now, I think before we close off, I'd like to invite Jerry and Chris back on stage for some closing remarks, apparently.
Okay.
You want to go? You stay in the middle. Okay. We
Well-
rehearsed. I'm supposed to. I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, you have your spacing wrong. You're supposed to stand in between Chris.
I know, that's why I'm waiting for you to go.
Fine,
There we go.
fine.
As you can tell, we didn't practice very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for that insightful conversation. I think we just heard what Calgary is about, right? We're not just reacting to change, we're leading it. Innovation is not just a buzzword. It's a way of thinking, it's a way of building, it's a way of shaping our future.
Oh, me, sorry. So, obviously it's been a great amount of information coming at you. I think you heard it loud and clear from just even this conversational panel, how important it is for us to collaborate, build those pathways, make sure that we're connecting people around this, right? So again, the economy is too important to leave to chance, and we need to drive this. So, like I said, we talked a whole bunch about different things, different strategies. You heard from me, but you've heard the proof that's happening here. And the takeaway for me is we can do it. We just have to be intentional. We've got to double down on innovation. We've got to do it now. And as you heard, we got to go fast and we got to be clear. So, yeah, you.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We are, 13 minutes over time, so thank you for sticking with us.
Yes. So thank you to our, again, our sponsors. Thanks to our speakers. Thanks to the team at TELUS Convention Center. Thanks to the team. This is Jerry. This is Chris. You're awesome. Thank you.